What is up? Sick Man Extra. We're back. And just like Anderson Paak and Bruno Mars, we've left the door open. And we are welcoming you to another segment of Shoot Your Shot. First matchup, we have Lancashire Laimbeer, the Mr. Blackout, House of 03, image attached here. This will be decided by House Lasky. So, Ed, take it away.
So I'm trying to refrain to have a similar situation as we did last time, which caused a lot of controversy. So let's ask this question instead. So as we start the second half of the season, which team outside the playoff spots, this includes the playing tournament, will make the playoffs? 3, 2, 1, go.
So the team I believe which could make a playoff run that is currently outside of the spots is a team that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with, and that is the Washington Wizards. They are currently sat in 12th place in the Eastern Conference, 14 and 23. They're 3 games behind the playoffs, the play-in spots. First of all, they've got the league leading scorer in points per game with Bradley Beal, and then they've obviously got the former MVP in Russell Westbrook, who is just shy of averaging that triple-double in the season, which he usually does. In fact, he even leads the NBA with 11 for triple-doubles. They've been much improved of late. So over the course of the season, they're 37% won their games at home and 38% on the road. That's now improved to 50% in their last 10, both away and at home. So they're playing to that even 500, which probably looks like you're getting a playing spot. And also, they've had a hard schedule at the start of the season, and they've got a much easier schedule going forwards. And I didn't get to cover my point as I see you counting down.
Cool. JW, your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so contrary to Matt's East selection, I have gone out west, and I have got to go for House of 03's home team, NOLA. Okay, so the reason why I selected them, obviously, I got Zion Williamson, who's absolutely balling out right now. He's averaging 25 points and helping lead this team to a lot of their victories, a key player. As well as this, they've got Brandon Ingram, the current and reigning most improved player, and he's still putting on those performances. On top of that, even though this team has been struggling and they are currently going into one of the toughest parts of the schedule, going into a couple of back-to-backs against Portland, and the defense is struggling, I think they can turn it around at any point now, and now that the coach is starting to focus.
Cool. So it's nice that we've got one team from the East, one team from the West. Neither one of you sort of mentioned the teams that you can overtake, which I thought would have been a good point to mention. You did both speak about how either one of those teams have got easier schedule coming up. But I think the one thing that swayed it was, again, the fact that the team I'm going to select is going to be in the East. And I think the Wizards have a more likely chance to make it out the East than the Pelicans do out the West. Sorry, George. I can't see his reaction, so I'm going to anticipate.
I think that's finally justice. I think that's justice finally for that Kobe advert. So yeah,
this isn't a makeup. I made the right decision last time, and I made the right decision this time.
Well, yeah, the blackout is obviously not working, George. So next week, come with a camera. Okay. All right. So let's go to the second matchup. And Wildy, I'm going up against Salt Bray. So Wildy, you take it away.
We're bringing in the sledgehammer. Alex is in the game. So my question for the pair of you guys, Joel Embiid is having a MVP caliber type season, but has yet again suffered an injury, which looks to put him out for about 2 weeks. So with that sort of theme, what I want to know from you guys is, who do you feel is the greatest what if player of all time? So yeah, people have been riddled by injury, that if they weren't derailed by injury, they would have had the best career. So you need to decide this. Who's going to go first? I'm going to go Bray first, and then I'll hear from Mr. Ward. And so you guys obviously have a minute. I'm going to set my timer up. Mr. Bray, in 3, 2,
Right, so I'm going to be a homer for this one. I'm going for the boy. I'm going for Derek. Derek Rose, Rookie of the Year, 2008. Comes in, drags the Bulls to the playoffs, goes 26-5 in 7 games versus the Celtics. The next year, drags the Bulls to the playoffs. It's his first matchup against LeBron. He's an all-star, 3rd season, the youngest MVP ever. The Bulls go 62-20. Eastern Conference Finals versus the Heat. It's the big matchups. The Bulls, LeBron, Derek. Next season, Tez's ACL is out for a whole year. Comes back, Tez's MCL. The team is still doing really well, and it's just what could they have been? They were the LeBron killer. He averaged 25-8 as an MVP. His next best is 18-5 as a member of the 20-46 Pistons. He could have been the LeBron counter, and it never happened.
Save all my thoughts till the end. I don't know what was so funny, the way you broke down the ACL.
And then he does that ACL.
I can't spend too long talking about it. It's too.
I know. It's like everything was so loud, and then
it was just the switch up. Like even Alex could keep a straight face.
Too much fun. Too much.
All right, Mr.
Right.
Ward. In 3, 2, 1.
My pick is Grant Hill. Grant Hill, 17 points per game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists at Duke, and won the national championship 2 times. Sorry, Fab 5. He was drafted 3rd overall by the 94 by the Pistons. He won co-rookie of the year in 95, averaging 20 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 5 assists. All of this, and he didn't have a jump shot. And you're thinking, how did he make it through? He's a high basketball IQ player, and he makes the right plays to make his team better. He took the Pistons to the playoffs 4 years out of the 6 that he was there. In 2000, where it all changed when he was on the Magic and he had the ankle injury, where he was with superstar T-Mac, Rookie of the Year Mike Miller, and head coach Doc Rivers. The Magic were the 8th seed, and without Grant Hill, actually lost to the Pistons, who went to the Eastern Conference Finals in 7 games. Imagine if they had Grant Hill.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting how both of your guys were athletic dudes that weren't natural shooters. Derek Rose has got a lot better from that point of view, but that was kind of the rap on him. He relied a lot on his athleticism to get to the rim. Definitely like both of your arguments. Just as a side note, that whole Grant Hill thing, if you guys have ever seen Open Court, it's where they have like all the like old guys talking about what ifs and stuff like that. And Grant Hill was on that panel in that one, and everyone was like, bro, you were kind of like a preempt to LeBron James in terms of his style of play. So it kind of shows what the respect his peers had for him as well. Yeah, that's really, really tough. I wouldn't go so far as to call Derek Rose a LeBron killer.
But then, so LeBron has absolutely dominated. He could have been the only guy to beat LeBron in the run. He had arguably, if he doesn't get injured, he has the best chance of anyone. Other than that, you're looking at in second in that list is DeMar DeRozan and Cole Lowry. So,
Paul George, you got to put some respect on Paul George's name in the Pacers.
Yeah, but they actually when he got injured, then he broke his leg. So fair enough.
Yeah. But okay. So on this, I am going to go with Grant Hill.
Damn it.
It's both 2 very good arguments, but Grant Hill to me, I felt I had a high ceiling. Yeah, that would be my pick.
Right.
Iguodala
had the line to win the series when Derrick Rose went out. That's what just happened, baby. Oh yeah, ice in my veins.
Every time he tortures me because we watched the game together when Derrick Rose got injured, and then he was chatting so much shit when Philly won the next series. They didn't say a word for like 8 years when they were terrible.
Well, I still got it. Thank you, Wildy. Check will be in the post, my man. All right. Okay, so wins for me and Matt. Let's head to I wouldn't say it's a new segment. It's mainly to assess the mid-season awards. So what's going to happen is we have 6 major categories. Each of us will be heading one category, and once that person has explained why they're picking their pick, the others will talk about a brief synopsis of who they're picking, and that's how we'll go through it. So the first category that we have is Coach of the Year, and we start with Salt Bray. So who are you picking?
Yeah, so when I was having to think about this, I eventually narrowed it down to 3 guys. So the first, Doc Rivers over in Philly, the second, Quinn Snyder in Utah, and the third, the boy Tom Thibodeau in New York. And the reason that these guys are kind of the top 3 in my eyes is that they haven't had any massive notable additions over the offseason. They didn't have James Harden come to the team. They don't have AD and LeBron, and it's kind of like to make a championship team better. They've basically taken pretty much the same team as it was last year and done so much better. So to give you an example, Doc Rivers is taking what last year's Philadelphia team would have been around a 48-win team in any given season. This year they're on track to win 57. Last year, the Jazz were on track to win 50. This year, they're on track to win 60, which is no mean feat. And last year, the Knicks were on track to win 26 games out of 82. This year, they're on track to win 42. That is an insane increase.
Yeah.
And obviously, in large part due to their one All-Star, Julius Randle, but the fact they only have 1 and not 3, like the Jazz, or 2 like the Sixers, I think Tibbs is going to get it. For me, just installing that defensive culture in a league that this year is all about scoring, and he's been the only guy in my eyes to properly zag, and he's doing a fantastic job with a lot less talent than everyone else.
Let's go around the room and say who we have. I will start. My vote is Monty Williams. That is my Coach of the Year.
For me, it would be Quinn Snyder, just because of how well Utah have been doing and playing as a team. Although shout out Coach Tibbs, because we know he's a guru for defense. And when you look at the players on the Knicks, you won't necessarily think defense.
I think I'll side with Bray on this one. I really like the Knicks argument and how much they've improved.
I have to agree with Ed, and I'm going to go for Quinn Snyder.
Cool.
So I also had Monty Williams in mind, but I must say I do think Bray's actually swayed me with his argument about not having any big off-season acquisitions. So I have Monty Williams in mind, but honestly, no, I love the Tibbs argument. Just a little shout out to Steve Nash as well. I know he's only first year, but he's got a lot of guys to handle on that team. They have an amazing record for first year. He's fantastic. I don't think he'll get it because they'll want him to prove himself more than once. But I just think that he got a lot of slack for getting that job, and I think he's done very well for himself there. But I like Tip.
Yeah, where you guys are coming from on the Monty front. I was going to talk about 4 guys, and I had to take him off because of the Chris Paul effect. Because from year to year, they didn't have Chris Paul. Now they do have Chris Paul, and Chris Paul is like, you saw what he did with that OKC team, who shouldn't have been in the playoffs, and yet they were. Like, I think you do. I think that it's more to do with Chris than it is Monty. Not to diminish him, he's obviously a very good coach.
Yeah, exactly.
To put a bow in it, I was just having a look at the Vegas odds, and the out-and-out favorite is Quinn Snyder in Vegas. Second is Monty, and third is Doc Rivers. Tom Thibodeau is 10th for betting odds. Coaches above him include Brad Stevens and Taylor Jenkins from Memphis as well, as well as Steve Nash and Frank Vogel. This is, and the odds were updated March the 8th, so this is just before the All-Star break. So
Brad Stevens.
Yeah. I'm not surprised Nash as well.
Get some money on Tibbs. The only thing that might, obviously, we talked about the record before. The schedule.
Yeah, Bray, I didn't even think about Tibbs. That was really good. And Tibbs actually won the majority. Let's head to Rookie of the Year. So,
Ben Simmons?
Matt, Matt, talk about your favourite freshman.
Yes, so who my pick for Rookie of the Year is LaMelo Ball. He leads points per game. He leads rookies with rebounds, 6.1 per game, assists, 6.4, and he leads in steals as well. In addition to that, he's had 1 triple-double and recorded 7 double-doubles. And he's transformed a Hornets team really well. They're actually really within this playoff picture now. And before he was, so for the first 20 games of the season, he didn't start for the Hornets. And in those games, the Hornets were 9 wins and 11 losses. Since he's become a starter, they've won 10 and lost 7. So the stats point to it, both from his own personal accolades and from the impact on the team. My choice is LaMelo Ball, but also shout out to Anthony Edwards, Halliburton quickly as well, and Wiseman. There's a nice little bunch of rookies, but LaMelo is the standout candidate.
Credit where credit's due. I'm also going with LaMelo, killing it this year. That's my pick.
Yep, Melo.
I agree. I do want to give a shout out to my man Pat Well, though, who's actually been really good and could turn out to be one of the better players to drop.
LaMelo Ball, of course, standard. Like the brothers going all out. Easy pick for me.
I'm sad to say there's no case for Nyako Conde. If you, one of the first shots we did, we were predicting Rookie of the Year. I went with LaMelo then, and I have no reason to jump off the train now. It's LaMelo.
That is a sweep. That is all 6. Well done, guys. All right. Speaking of 6, let's head to 6th man of the year. And Ed, you've got this question.
Yes, lovely. I finally get to talk about Jordan Clarkson. So when we talk about 6th man, it does tend to be who is the best scorer off the bench. It's not much more of, it's not really a defensive award or like who gets the most assists on the bench. It does tend to be, when you ask most coaches, it's who can provide you some scoring off the bench. And I mean, Jordan Clarkson is first off the bench, scoring 18 points. He's first in 3 points off the bench as well. He makes 3 a game. He's first in field goal percentage as well, 97%, which is amazing from the field goal line as well. And this is of players who have attempted at least 1 field goal a game off the bench. He's 9th in steals, which is decent. And he's got the 7th best plus minus off the bench. Now, 7th might not necessarily sound impressive, but there is only one other player in that list who is a non-Spurs or Suns player, because Spurs and Suns have got the best bench unit in terms of plus minus. So it's really impressive for the position he's in. So my pick is Jordan Clarkson. The next closest Vegas odds is they've got Gordon and Boucher, as well as Ross and Dragic, but it is Clarkson's for the taking.
I am agreeing with this after seeing Jordan Clarkson light us up for 40. Can't really say no to that boy. Yeah,
I'll do
Clarkson.
I'm gonna hazard a guess that the person with the better plus minus than Jordan Clarkson is my pick. I think it's Thad Young. Another homer pick for me. Is that right, Ed? Do you know if it's right?
So I didn't write down who the Suns or the Spurs players were. I did jot down that the only non-Suns or Spurs player was DeAnthony Melton from the Grizzlies. But yeah,
I actually think that Thad Young has been. He obviously hasn't been scoring it like Clarkson, but he just does all the other stuff, and the posts are much better with him on the floor.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Ed on this one. I think Jordan Clarkson really is one of those players who's helped Utah be the team they are this season.
Yeah, me too. I'm going Jordan Clarkson. Again, I think he's just been a huge contribution to the Utah Jazz, and I feel especially like after the what feels like years ago now, the traditional like Laker rookie core kind of like branched out. It's nice to see them getting back into the spotlight a bit again.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to try and zag here, but to be honest, it's Jordan Clarkson. I think a lot of the league is it's in a strange place in the sense that the league is very top heavy. So a lot of teams have a really good starting 5, and then the benches aren't quite as deep. But then obviously you have Suns and Spurs that have really good benches, but they don't have kind of like a one standout. So yeah, it's Jordan Clarkson to the point where he's could potentially be in the most improved player conversation as well. Just saying. No one thought he was going to do this.
Where is he?
No one was like, oh, you know, they Jordan Clarkson, he'd go off the bench.
Yeah.
He's got 40.
On your head. On his head. Most improved player of the year. Nice transition while he was saying that Clarkson might be featured in that list. This category, who are you going for?
So for this one, there was quite a few names out there. I was toying with Julius Randle for a while as well, but I think in the end I came to the decision to go with Jeremy Grant. I think like looking at the numbers he's putting up, you can see he's putting the definition of most improved player like right up there. So in 1920 season, he was averaging 12 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and 75% from the free throw line. This season, he's averaging 24 points per game, 6 rebounds, almost 3 assists, and 86% from the free throw. So he's essentially nearly doubled his output this season, and that's why being thrust into like being almost the best player on the Pistons roster. So that's why I'm choosing him as the most improved player.
First time I'm disagreeing with the head coaches are up in points, assists, and rebounds. He's also shooting better from the field, from free and free throw. And most importantly, the Knicks are in the playoff picture, which is something that nobody saw happening. So I'm picking Randall.
I do think this is a lot closer. Randall initially was my pick, but then again, with 6-man, it does seem to be more a scoring thing. And Grant is averaging 10 more points than he was last year. And he is doing it a little bit of a better clip. So I think Jeremy Grant could potentially be the winner.
20 wins is a lot more than 10 wins. It's got to be Julius Randle.
Yeah, I really like the points with the stats on Grant, but I'm siding with Randall based off the fact that he's all-star for the first time and that the Knicks are in the playoff picture again.
I like Colin Sexton as most improved because I know that we're obviously talking about record, Julius Randle having a really nice year. Sexton scoring is up 4 points. His assists have improved. They had a really good start to the year, and Cavaliers have just kind of done a bunch of weird stuff in the front office. So their sort of drop off, I can't really put down to him, to be honest. And the gaps from 8 to 15 isn't that big within the East. So not everything is concluded. I just think in a weird situation, he's done well to continue to grow as an individual player and do well. So I like Colin Sexton.
Penultimate category lies in my court. With my pick, everyone's going to think, oh, Alex, well, you're being a homer because I'm picking the Fresh Prince to Philly, Ben Simmons. But I'm going to give you reasons why. Simmons is second in the league in deflections at 3.9, and he's first in loose ball recovered. Now, I'm thinking from a defensive standpoint, what would you do in order to stand out? You'd need to have good games against some of the best players in the league. So within a zone, which he had a comeback win against the Pacers, he has 4 steals and 2 blocks. Against RJ Barrett, 4 points, 1 of 8 shooting. Against Lillard, he held him to 10 points, 3 of 9 shooting. He also had a steal and a block against him. His most impressive performance was against Luka Doncic, who had 6 points, 3 of 7 shooting, and 4 turnovers. And Simmons had 2 steals and a block against Luka. And I think for me, why I'm picking Simmons is that any time a star is not guarded by Simmons, the player is way more active and aggressive. He does a great job without fouling and staying active. He only averages 3 fouls per game. he's got strength and quickness, and he can guard 1 through 5, because the game prior to guarding Luka, he guarded Rudy Gobert. And to top it off, the Sixers have the second best defense in the league. That is why I'm picking Ben Simmons. Outside of that, Rudy Gobert, he's also a strong candidate. I would happily have him up there as well. And Miles Turner, just for the number of blocks that he has at the moment. That's what I'm picking.
I am going for Utah's very own Rudy Gobert. We all know Alex is passionate about Simmons. He had quite a few things to back him up there, especially it's not just the stats, but eye test as well. I'm going for Rudy Gobert just because that whole defense is based around him, and he is just so impactful for Utah and what they do on the defensive end.
I think I could play defense on that Jazz team if I have Rudy Gobert behind me. So I'm going to go with the Stifle Tower.
I'd have to agree as well. Rudy Gobert has been one of the reasons why the Jazz are at the top of the West, and he definitely deserved that All-Star spot, as much as some people didn't like seeing him in the game.
For me, again, this is a tough one. Ben Simmons, like you said, Alex, like that is a crazy shout, and I feel like he is also a deserved winner, but I think again, I'm going to have to go with Rudy Gobert with this one.
I'm going with Ben Simmons as well. The 1 through 5 is what puts him over the edge for me. NBA is moving closer and closer to positionless basketball as we go, and I wouldn't feel comfortable with Rudy Gobert guarding the point guard, whereas Ben can do everything. But again, it's no disrespect talking about the best defenders in the world, so you gotta pick one. Ben's my one.
All right, Wildy, close that out for us.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So, most valuable player. This is, in a lot of ways, the MVP is a lot of the time just comes down to narrative and popularity contests, because there's more and more talent in the league every year, and guys performing at a high level. And if you compare MVP campaign seasons to each person every year, you can make a case for at least 2, if not 3 guys every year, and you feel like there's a snub. So at the moment, we have Joel Embiid, who, had he not just gone down with a left knee injury, for me was the clear favourite. I think that he can get a bucket better than anybody on the MVP potential list. I think the Joker is just as good as he is there. So let me give you my list first. I've got Embiid, Joker, Giannis has to be on it. Sorry, he's too good. Can't not mention him. Luka at the beginning of the season was a potential favourite, but I just don't think that their record is going to end up good enough, even though they have started to go on a run and are now 3 games above 500, which is incredible considering the start they had. And then, of course, you have LeBron. Embiid also had the big game against the Jazz. So whenever they come up against somebody else who's, the head team on the West, Embiid hits that buzzer beater to put them into OT, and they end up winning it. It's nice to have that sort of pinnacle moment to point to when you're trying to decide the ultimate MVP guy. LeBron is having actually one of his worst statistical seasons, which is still an amazing season, but for him, in seasons where he hasn't won it, there are guys just outplaying him, unfortunately. So I think LeBron still might potentially. I think with Giannis playing the way he is for the 3rd straight season, the feeling is that he's not going to win 3 in a row. So I feel like the playoff stuff is dragging into not just Giannis not getting it, but as much as LeBron getting it. What I mean by that is LeBron is so good in the postseason that it's affecting the regular season award. Right or wrong, that's just the way it may go. For me, I'm going with Embiid if I have to pick. So Embiid is my pick because I think he can come back and still do what he does. But there's a lot of names on there. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer, if I'm honest.
Okay, this is very difficult for me, but I'm not going to pick Embiid. The reason I'm not picking Embiid is because it's so close with everybody. I feel like 2 or 3 weeks off could be detrimental to that, and especially with him having this hyperextension, the Sixers should, if you're listening, should be cautious because it's going to hurt us in the long run. So don't play him. Be careful around that. We need him in the playoffs because you know how important he is. I am going with the Joker for what he does. Like you said, Embiid and him are very similar players and the impact that they have. And Jokic is one of he might be the best passing big man of all time. He is ridiculous. So I'm picking the Joker.
So I'm just looking at the Vegas odds, and the top three are so it is generally the top three of Embiid, LeBron, and Jokic. Then there's a drop off after that. I'm in the LeBron camp. Part of it is now AD's injured and Embiid has got a bit of uncertainty, and Denver underperforming in the regular season compared to where they were last year. But Joker is still Mr. Salt Code. So I'm going for LeBron.
In left field here, they've got the same record as the Nuggets. I'm going with Dame because Joker's had Jamal Murray. Dame has not had CJ. That team should not be 22-16 right now. If they can keep it up, he's in with a massive shout. And I'd also obviously this all comes down to the second half of the season. I'd like to give a little bit of recognition for Chris Paul as well, because that Suns team is streaking.
As much as I've been bigging up Jokic throughout the season, I'm actually going to join Ed and go for LeBron, purely because I think Jokic and Embiid have been the two who've been MVPs up to now. However, this is the mid-season awards, and the second half of the season still is important to play. And I can just see LeBron kicking on and really taking the Lakers. And then obviously Ed made the point off the playoffs as well. So yeah, I'm going to go for LeBron, but just ahead of Jokic, who I think would deserve it as well.
Again, for me, this is also going to be a difficult decision. In my mind, again, I've had like Antetokounmpo, LeBron James, Harden popped in there every now and then. But I think for me, I'm going to have to agree with the Salt and go for Lillard. Like, I think he's up there, like the stuff he does for the Blazers team and the loyalty and leadership which he's had over there. And I feel like that recognition kind of goes under the radar a lot of the time, but even the performances he's doing, he's really dragging us up there, especially with McCollum out and everything. So I've got to give it to him.
No one's spoken about Harden. I reckon Harden may be in the late shout, although it is a bit of a weird circumstance. I know Bray doesn't like the idea considering what he did to his Houston team, but I reckon Harden is doing really well on the Nets and could get some consideration.
Definitely.
There's so many candidates. It's really going to be interesting to see. All great picks. I think so. Just to wrap it out, and obviously majority coach of the years, we're going with Tibbs. Rookie of the year, we've got a clean sweep from LaMelo. Sixth man, we're going with Clarkson. Most improved, Julius. Just defensive player of the year, we're going with Rudy Gobert, Stifle Tower. And most valuable, we've actually got split between LeBron and Dame. Definitely the most competitive arguments for most MVP. But to be honest, I love to see that. Lots of storylines still to come. So that's going to wrap it up for us on the Sixth Man. Week 13 is done and dusted. We'll be back again next week to discuss more stuff as we get back into the flow after the All-Star break. So from Sixth Man, myself, and all the other GMs, it is over and out.
Adios.
Peace.
Ciao.